So, good stuff. Okay, so without further ado, I'll get started. Good evening, ladies. I believe I have a fully female audience. When you think about the European Union, you probably think mainly about the European continent. And it's true, that's where most EU citizens live. Only 2% of the population live on islands like Cyprus, Malta, or Ireland. So that means that 98% of the EU's population is on the European continent. But there are some other territories which make up a small part of the EU's population, which are not independent states, but they are part of another member state, but they are located quite far from the European continent. And these territories are known as Outermost Territories. There are 9 of them in total. I have a lot of Spaniards here, so I'm sure you'll be familiar with the Canary Islands. Is considered an outermost territory, an outermost region. You have 2 belonging to Portugal, the Azores and Madeira. And then there are 6 which belong to France. You may have heard of Guadeloupe in the Caribbean or Réunion in the Indian Ocean. But these are just, there are more outermost regions which belong to France. These outermost regions are home to 4.8 million people. But because of their location and some of the problems that they face, the European Union has decided to put in place some initiatives to help these outermost regions. So in this speech, I'm going to talk about some of the challenges facing the outermost regions and some of the initiatives to help the ORs, or outermost regions. So one of the first problems facing the outermost regions is that they're often small island states, and they often have a complicated topography. So they're very mountainous, there's very poor transport infrastructure, and that means that people find it difficult to move around the island if they don't have a car, for example. It's also very difficult to build new transport infrastructure like train lines because of the mountainous or volcanic topography. The next problem is that they face a brain drain. In these outermost regions, there's often a reliance on seasonal or poorly paid jobs in agriculture or in tourism. So many young people aren't able to find good jobs in their home region, and they have to go off, say, to Lisbon or Madrid or Paris to find a job which corresponds to their level of studies. So this has led to a brain drain, and it also means that the population is getting older. These young people leave and don't return. And we all know that when you have an aging population, you also have higher social care costs. You have to look after this older population. The next problem that they face is that there's a great deal of reliance on imports. Many products have to be imported from other countries, which means that the cost of living is higher. And finally, I would like to talk about a problem which is quite unique, I would say, to the Canary Islands. Those of you who have been to the Canary Islands will know that it's very close to Africa. And many migrants from sub-Saharan Africa go over to the Canary Islands as a way into the European Union. So the Canary Islands have had to face a number of challenges to welcome and integrate these migrants. Now, the European Union has taken a number of steps to counter these problems. And actually, the outermost regions are given a special status through one of the European Union treaties, the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. I'll just give you some ideas of the initiatives that the EU has put in place. For example, there's Cohesion Policy. Cohesion Policy is all to do with infrastructure, trying to connect people together better, trying to invest in transport, roads, ports, airports, but also to invest in digital infrastructure, such as broadband internet, for example, to make it easier for people to work remotely. A second area in which the EU has invested heavily is Maritime and Fisheries Policy. The EU has invested 315 million euros to support fisheries in outermost regions, especially to support sustainable fishing. Another important policy area for the European Union has been agriculture and biodiversity. The EU has invested 627 million euros to support rural development and biodiversity in the outermost regions. In order to overcome the brain drain, the European Union has also invested heavily in education and research, in particular in building skills among young people to be able to find jobs locally or perhaps set up their own businesses. So the Erasmus Plus program has been used widely in the outermost regions to improve the education and training level of young people. And finally, in the area of migration, in the Canary Islands in particular, there has been a fund to help outermost regions face up to the challenges created by migration. So to help the outermost regions welcome and integrate migrants. So in conclusion, I think you can see that there are many challenges faced by the outermost regions because of their remote location and their aging populations. But I think it's a very good idea that national governments and the European Union have been taking steps to address these problems. Thank you very much for your attention.